Lisa Crosta here from Crescent Harbor Private Wealth. This is another segment of our Crescent Connections, and today we're going to interview Drew Albrecht from Cambridge Insurance Advisors. We partner with Drew to work with our small business owners to help make smart healthcare decisions. And if anybody's been paying attention, you'll notice out there in the marketplace, healthcare costs have gone up tremendously, and they're a big part of small businesses and all businesses' expenses. So we're going to dig a little bit in with Drew and things that they do at Cambridge to help our clients and their clients. So I'll give Drew the floor here so he can introduce himself.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, like Lisa said, Drew Albrecht, partner at Cambridge Insurance Advisors. We typically work with that small to mid-sized business owners and that 50 employee and up range. And our focus is really on three things. It's about helping employers stop overpaying for healthcare, building smarter plan designs, and for the right clients, exploring self-funding or alternative risk strategies that give the employers more control. So a lot of the businesses we work with, they are well-run companies. They just haven't had anyone look at their benefits in a strategic lens. So that's really where we try to fill the gap here.
And that sort of leads to my first question. It was how should business owners think about healthcare within their overall financial picture? And you sort of touched on it right there.
Yep, yep. Well, we always tell clients to stop thinking about healthcare as a bill that you pay every single month, but start thinking about it as a business system that you can actually manage. So all other business expenses, employers have levers that they can pull, and really healthcare should be no different. The problem is that most employers have been conditioned by the traditional insurance market, which is just accept the renewal number every year, maybe push back a little bit, negotiate it down a few points, and move on. But there's a whole other way to approach this that actually puts the employers in the driver's seat.
Right. And I don't think a lot of people know that. Or
Right.
they've tried. I know a few clients that have tried and not gotten nowhere, so they need to meet you, Drew.
Yeah, it becomes it's very burdensome when that onus is on the employer. So having a strategic advisor handle that process for you,
Right.
not putting that on your HR or your own finance team, it's really having that strategic partner that handles that. That's most helpful for business owners.
Right. And what would you say one of the biggest misconceptions employers have about healthcare? You mentioned
Uh,
some, but
yeah, the biggest one I think that we see is employers think that their options are either to raise deductibles or shift more costs onto the employees or for that business to just absorb the increase. And again, that's that traditional playbook model, and it's a losing game. You're either going to be hurting your employees or your bottom line as a business owner. So the reality is that most of the cost in a health plan is driven by a relatively small number of claims. It's that old 80/20 rule. And even in healthcare plans, we see typically 5% of employees drive 50 to 60% of the costs. So there's real strategies to attack those few large specific claims. And the second misconception I'd say is that they think their broker's actively working to reduce costs. A lot of brokers are just managing renewals, and there's a big difference between a broker that's managing renewals, that's a vendor, versus a broker that's acting as a strategic advisor and is really proactively trying to reduce these large claims.
right. And we're going to circle back to that for anybody who has more questions about how you do that.
Mhm.
But I wanted to stay on the topic a bit more. What do you think's changed most in the last 5 years or so that maybe a lot of employers aren't aware of?
Yeah, a few things. Not necessarily that this is a change because costs have always continued to climb, but maybe the change is that they're increasing at a more rapid pace than
Yeah.
ever. We're at a point where rich plan designs, a family on that employer's health plan could be $40,000 a year. I mean, that's literally buying a new car for every family enrolled on your health plan. So that's real money that can be detrimental to a business if it's not managed properly. The second piece, which is a good thing, is just the explosion of tools and resources, specifically data that's available to employers, and it's available more so to the employers that are willing to step outside that fully insured box. You have reference-based pricing, direct contracting with healthcare systems, pharmacy carve-outs, which is in the news daily at this point, and then also captives. These are all solutions that were not available to the mid-market 10 years ago. I've been doing this for 17 years. A company wouldn't consider any of this stuff 17 years ago unless they had a minimum of 300 employees enrolled. They had great cash flow and they knew they were going to increase their employee headcount. Now, you go down to 50 employees for a lot of these tools and resources and solutions. So the solutions have gone down market, which is great. And I'd say the last thing too is the talent market has made benefits more visible. So employees are paying attention to what they're getting, not just the money that's coming out of their paycheck, for what they're paying. So they're paying attention to actually what they're getting now with that too.
Right. So we're going to dig a little bit more into those topics you brought up in the next few questions. So, pharmacy, you touched on pharmacy, and my question was more what are some of the hidden costs and big costs in pharmacies where it came up? So talk to me about the pharmacy
Yeah,
benefit manager and
yeah,
what we're hearing about this.
absolutely. So pharmacy is the biggest one right now, mainly because it's where costs are growing the fastest and where there's the most complexity too. You have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? So, um, a lot of employers have no idea what their PBM is, and PBM stands for Pharmacy Benefit Manager. They have no idea what a PBM is, who their PBM is, or what their PBM is even making off of their health plan.
Right.
There are a lot of factors like spread pricing arrangements, that rebates game, and a lot of other factors that are just not visible on the surface. So pharmacy is a big one. Other unnecessary or hidden healthcare spending is in what we call low value care. So ER visits that could have been handled at an urgent care or virtually. You have imaging that's being done at a hospital versus a freestanding imaging center. That would be at a fraction of the cost. So those are hidden expenses. The last thing I'll say too is also broker compensation. Some employers are paying their brokers six figures, and that commissions is just it's embedded into the premium, and they have no idea that they're paying for it.
Right. That's crazy. I mean, I guess it depends how big the plan is, but yes, it's something that we should know. In our industry, the what we charge clients is really out there. They could see it every month, and more
Yeah,
and more, it seems like more industries are going like that. I mean,
yeah,
realtor just did it, right? Like you're
yeah,
starting to
and
see what you're paying for the service that you get.
yep, exactly. And it is a new transparency law. There's no, I should say, risk or penalties associated. So maybe that's why it's taking a bit longer. But there is a new transparency law that brokers have to be disclosing on an annual basis what they're making. It's a practice that we've been doing, you know, forever. But
Right.
transparency is always a good thing.
Right. So let's go back to that now. So these are the things, these are the hidden costs. So what are some changes we can do to reduce costs without cutting benefits? And then
Yep,
we're going
yep.
to go
So
back to the topics we talked
yeah,
about.
yeah, sustained on that pharmacy
Yeah.
thread. Number one is carving out the pharmacy, and putting the pharmacy, the PBM, the pharmacy benefit manager, putting that in a transparent pass-through model. That alone can save employers 15 to 25% of their drug spend, and that's going to have no impact on the employee experience. Number two could be adding a high performance network like that direct primary care component, where you can steer employees toward high quality, low cost providers. And you can also craft your plan so you can give your employees a reason to go there. You can eliminate their copay, have $0 deductible applied to that specific provider. So you're naturally reducing unnecessary utilization and at the same time improving outcomes. So it's a win-win for both the employer and the employees.
What do you mean by steer them towards a provider? Like it sort of sound a little bit reminiscent of the old days the HMO days where you had to go through a gatekeeper, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Are you
Yep.
talking about that?
Yep. No, no, that's a good question. So this is not in that gatekeeper model where you have to get a referral to go, from your doctor to go see a specific specialist. You would still have access to all the providers and hospital systems that you do. You're
Mhm.
just steering, I guess the other way to say it is incentivizing. Hey, you can go to anybody that you want to, and if that provider, say you didn't do your homework and you go to that provider that may be high cost, and not so great outcomes, not such high quality, you're going to pay your normal, say, $300
Right,
copay
right.
for an MRI. Or if we're going to steer you or incentivize you to go to these providers that have been highlighted in advance, that are high quality, low cost, where we know there's going to be great outcomes, you go there for your MRI and it's going to be $0 copay for you. So you're
Right,
incentivizing them to go because the spread on the actual price of that MRI could be $2,000,
yep,
$3,000. So as the employer, you save your employee that $300 copay in that example, and then you also save the plan $2,000 because they went to the better imaging center
right,
versus maybe the one that's closest to them.
right. And just to reiterate, on the pharmacy benefit manager, if you carve that out, that's no different for the employee. It's not like they get a different plan. It's just, this is under the hood that happens between you, I
Correct.
guess, and the employer
Yep.
and okay,
Yep,
that's interesting.
absolutely. Yeah, it's all behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that Cambridge does for our clients, where you're unbundling things, you're making them more transparent. To the employee, they don't know any difference, right? They're still having their same deductibles, copays. So it's really the stuff behind the scenes where we can eliminate wasteful spending, and reduce cost.
Right. And my next question, I think we kind of covered, but you said ask how your broker's compensated. That should
Yeah.
be part of it, just like when you pay for anything. What makes up the cost? And this is something that a broker should tell you, correct?
Yep, yep. Ask your broker what they're being compensated. Ask for transparency with everybody in the healthcare ecosystem. So,
Mhm.
whoever the insurance carrier is, who the third party administrator is. Ask for a claims utilization report. Ask for the pharmacy benefit manager for their contract, so that so that they can be held accountable for their RX rebates and any spread pricing that's in there.
Right.
That should be done on an annual basis. Employers should know exactly what they're spending, where it's going, and what the plan is to improve that.
It's so interesting because in the job I'm in now and my current two jobs prior to that, I helped with the insurance benefits in each company. And it
Mhm.
was basically, we got presented with, this is your deductible, this is your doctor networks, or these are your choices of two different tier doctor networks, and the costs. We
Yep.
really got nothing else. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, we'll just take, and it was always that big decision. Did you go cheaper because the premiums went up so much, but what are you giving up? And is it
Yeah.
giving up something that's valuable to your employees? And this is just so much more behind the scenes that you can help with that. I didn't know.
Yeah. 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 You nailed it. The landscape is changing for the benefit of the end users and the employers. But
Right.
again, so a lot of people are maybe stuck in the old mindset of that traditional market, fully insured, black box, don't know what you're getting, what you're paying for. But yeah, that's just where, working with we say broker, but we like to also call ourselves a consultant. We really approach it with a consultative lens to make sure that the business owner is getting the most value. It's a major expense.
Yeah, it
So
is.
making sure that the business is getting a lot of value from a recruitment and retention standpoint, and then employees and their families when they need access to good quality care, that they're able to get it and they don't have to jump through hoops and get surprise bills in the mail. So, um, we are very passionate about what we do because how it impacts both businesses and the end user.
Yeah, it's very personal. It's very personal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What strategies have you seen that have outperformed, in the recent landscape, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, it's the answer there is self-funded plans, but you can't be in a set it and forget it mindset, or you can't hold your breath and, in 12 months look in the rear view mirror and say, did we outperform? So it's self-funding with the caveat that you've got great strategy wrapped around it, and that is going to outperform that fully insured traditional market that we've been poking fun at. Um,
Right.
but it has to be for the right employer too. So self-funding, and some of the things that we've talked about so far that you can layer on top of it to make it successful is that direct primary care, reference-based pricing, having that transparent pharmacy benefit manager, and then also great stop loss coverage too. When you can stack those things together, it gives the employer more control and real savings potential. Again, it might not be right for every employer, but for mid-sized companies where you can have some predictable claims history, um, we say it's always going to perform on a 5-year run. It's always going to outperform the fully insured model. And,
Right.
and one thing too, Lisa, going into these more kind of strategic models where there's a little bit more risk, but a lot of upside and a lot of reward. A lot of times that can be nerve-wracking for employers. Not every employer is, ready to just jump into some unknown risk. But
Mhm.
there are plans in the middle of these two that work really well too. So level funding is a term that it just shocks me that doesn't get talked about enough. Like if I ask
Yeah, I don't know what that
10,
is.
if I ask 10 random employers, hey, have you heard about self-funding? 9 out of 10 of them will say yes. If I ask those same 10 employers, have you heard about level funding? 2 out of 10 are going to say yes, they've heard about it. But it's a hybrid model. So there are other models that, stepping stones to the self-funded plans where you can get more access to data. You can still be in a model that looks, feels, acts fully insured so that there's not a lot of claims volatility. You know what your costs are going to be month to month. But again, it opens the door to these other just more aggressive models. So level funding is a great one that, in my opinion, does not get talked about enough.
So give me a short version of what level funding. So I just want to back up. Self-funding, I always knew when I worked at a big accounting firm, one of the big at the time, 5 accounting firms, they were of course self-funded. They had thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of employees.
Mhm.
But now self-funding has gone downstream a bit. You said, I think, was it up to as small as potentially 50 employees, you could still
Yep.
self-fund.
Mhm.
And what I found interesting, I'm just going to reiterate it, is that you then put this stopgap insurance on top of it. So if you have a catastrophic claim, you're not out of business.
Yep.
So that's self-funding. So tell me a little bit about level funding.
Yep. So, and this will help too, for the fully insured market, that's where you just pay a fixed monthly invoice to the insurance carrier, and the insurance carrier covers all the claims. So
Okay.
level funding is in between these two.
Hmm.
Level funding is great for employers because it looks, feels, and acts fully insured, where you
Okay.
know what your fixed monthly cost is going to be to the insurance carrier. The only way that changes is if the number of belly buttons on the plan changes, right? You have employees add or term or have dependents join the plan or whatnot. So that's the only way that your invoice changes. Level funding is just that, except you get transparency into the claims data. So you get claims on a monthly basis. You get enhanced utilization reporting, so you know how the plan is actually being used. And at the end of the year, if claims run better than the premium paid throughout the year, you get your money back. It's split 50-50, so that's where there's not as much upside. And in the
Right.
self-funded model, it's full upside because the
Right.
employer's paying all the claims. So anything not spent at the end of the year from their budget, they of course keep that in their bank account. So
Hmm.
level funded, it's split typically 50-50. And there are other arrangements that you can do, negotiation tactics with the carriers.
Right.
But say there's $100,000 of unused premium at the end of the year because claims ran well. $50,000 goes back to the employer, and then the insurance carrier keeps the other 50,000.
Now, what if you're over?
That's a good question. If you're over, there's no deficit carryover, which is great.
But do you pay it that year? You pay it
Yeah.
because, oh, you don't.
You're paying the maximum annual premium
Okay.
every month.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, if what you've paid is overpaid from the claims, then you get that money back. There's no deficit carryover.
Okay. So you
No
start
deficit
fresh
carryover.
next year.
Yeah. So, it's
Okay.
it, employers will say, well, what's the downside to it,
Yeah.
or what's the catch? Um, Level funded is going to be the same cost or a couple percentage points higher than fully insured. Okay, so that could be the downside. You're paying a little bit more,
Right.
maybe 3% throughout the year for that level funded plans. You're paying a little bit more for that potential upside.
Mhm.
Um, but the other caveat to it is you typically have to renew with that insurance carrier in order to
Right.
get that surplus back. So they kind of give you some golden handcuffs.
Interesting.
Say, hey, you want that surplus, you have to renew with us. That's something that I always let employers know before they go into the model. But the last thing too, Lisa, that could be good to know is, you said, well, what if claims run over? Do you have to pay that back? The answer is no. But if your claims run over, you're going to get that, that's going to be seen in the renewal, right? You're going to get a
Right.
higher
That's what I
renewal.
figured. You're gonna get a higher
So,
renew. Yeah.
but if claims run over, and no matter what model you're in, right, fully insured model, you're going to get hit with a high renewal next
Yeah.
year too.
Always.
But you just don't know maybe the reasons why. In the level
Right.
funded model, you're going to know on a month-to-month basis how the plan performance is actually going. So you
Right.
can project and predict what the renewal is going to be because you're seeing the claims data. So when claims run high, there's no way to outrun it. That's
Yeah.
something to know, right?
It's true.
You're never going to be able to outrun the claims. So it's what model can we put you in to be as proactive as possible to reduce those claims, avoid the claims, put guardrails around so that the employer is not overpaying.
Right.
That's really, I think, the crux of it is
Yeah.
proactively managing the plan.
Yeah, and that's something you would do, right? Like you
Yeah,
would get those claims data back. It's not the employer doesn't have to do this and do an analysis and okay,
correct.
that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why an employer may not want to jump into these models is they think, oh, this is going to add so much work for me or my
That's what I
HR
was
team.
wondering.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So no, that is all work that Cambridge does. We have an analytics team and we've invested in data warehouse tools.
Okay.
So we provide this reporting to our clients on a monthly basis. We have executive summaries. Um, and it's not just, hey, here's 20 pages of data, have fun this weekend reading through it. We provide real action items. Hey, here's the real important items. Here's how we can address it. Here's how we can educate your employees um, to really tackle those
I have
claims.
to ask, what about confidentiality?
Yeah, so all of that reporting, any reporting we give to our clients, it's HIPAA compliant. Our clients that are self-funding, they do have a HIPAA officer so that we can share, you know, data with just that one individual. Um, Not that it goes anywhere or that they do anything with it, but that data is available. So if it is ever shared, it's with that designated HIPAA compliant officer. Um, but who the individual is, that doesn't matter to us or to the group. It's, hey, how can we
Data.
extract that claim or apply discounts to it so that the cost goes down with that insurance
Right.
carrier or
So it's
with the
not necessarily
provider.
tied to the person, just like, okay, these 10 people have this expensive, I'm making this up, medication, and this person
Mhm.
used urgent care, this person used emergency care, but you don't know who they are. It's just the
Yeah,
cost that happened.
yeah. That's yeah. Everything is kind of omitted as far as who it is.
It is, right,
But yeah, what we really care about is what's the diagnosis or what's the
right,
name of that prescription.
right.
That's what we
Wherever
attack.
they treat it, right,
Yeah.
right. I had another question on self-insuring, but I think we touched on it enough. So I'm going to jump a little bit because this I also did not have not heard of strategies like captives and alternative risk sharing.
Yep. Yep.
I'll let you
Um,
touch on it. And I'm just going to step back for a minute. If anybody has more questions, obviously Drew's available to talk later on because we could be here for hours. But
yep.
I just wanted to pique people's interest of really how much is available out there for business owners. So back to my question. Go ahead.
Yeah, captives are great. It's a great middle ground for employers that want more control than that fully insured model, but maybe they're not quite ready to take on the full risk or responsibility of being self-funded on their own.
Hmm.
So captives is for stop loss insurance. It's where you're pulling risk together with other like-minded employers. You're going to have your own plan design, right? Your own co-pays. You're going to pay for your own smaller claims. But the captive insurance, it really gives more cushion to the employer. So if you're an employer that has 150 employees and you want to go self-funded, but you want to avoid those catastrophic claims, right? Because
Right.
God forbid, twin premature births could be $1 million each, and that's just not, you can't spend $2 million on healthcare claims for one individual. So the stop loss contracts in this captive, you get that contract not as a 150 employer company, you get it as a Fortune 100 company. So
Right.
it's the stop loss paper that you're getting that really protects the employer in that self-funded model.
For spreading the risk. So it's not a PEO because you still have your own insurance,
Yep.
but on the stopgap, that piece where there could be catastrophic, you're now, instead of 100 people, you're 10,000 people or whatever it
Yeah.
is, 5,000
Yep.
people. So just the,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah, and because large claims are the cost of them are becoming so high, and they're also happening more frequently. So the cost of a 150 person company, let's call it, to get, favorable language in these stop loss contracts at a good price for 150 employees could be a lot if you're doing it on your own.
Right.
Because again, how much premium are you really going to collect on 150 employees to cover that $2 million claim, right? Or gene therapy that's a $3 million claim. So when you pool it with other like-minded employers and are purchasing this stop loss contract as, millions of
Right.
members, you can really get terms that are favorable and at a great price to your company.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Um, I just want you to touch on HRA's health reimbursement arrangements because you don't see them that much. And I know they're a tool that you like. So just
Yeah,
touch on those, how employers can use those.
yeah, it's funny. I guess I've been doing this long enough. I mentioned earlier 17 years. Like it's
Yeah.
what's old is new again.
Yeah.
Um, so HRAs is one of those things that were very popular when I was first in the industry, and kind of went by the wayside for a little bit. But yeah, I think that they're underutilized, especially for executives. You asked me earlier. I think you asked me earlier about just like what we're seeing or what's new. I would say executive benefits too is something else,
Okay.
but these HRAs can be designed. It's a plan that reimburses specific expenses in a tax-free way, so you can make these plans very intentional. The ERISA, IRS laws, they're really called Section 105 plans,
Mhm.
but they can be properly structured to be executive executive medical reimbursements.
Right. By
So
the employer to the employee for
yep,
specific
yep,
expenses.
yep, yep.
Right.
And then they can make it vague too, but when they want to again like design these to be very specific from whether it's recruitment or retention tool, whatever. Um, it's just something that, again, I think because it's been around for so long, it's just and as the industry's changed and as business have changed and as needs have changed, people kind of got away from the solution, but these things can be great.
Yeah.
And for the business owner specifically, the interplay between their business health plan and then also their personal tax situation, it's worth a close look,
Right.
especially for those owners that get closer towards an exit. There's just a lot of unique things that can be done with these HRAs.
Right. And that actually leads me to the next question. And I know we're coming to the end of our time. We got a few more minutes. What benefits help employers, retain, recruit people? So we talked about HRAs potentially for, executives. What are the benefits that the employees want these days?
Yep. HRAs is a big one for executives. Also, mental health access, primary care access. Those are two that I hear a lot. Another one I'll throw in there too is around family planning and IVF coverage. And this too, like fully insured health plans, those are governed by the state. Those have their own family planning benefits built in. When you're self-funding, that we've talked a lot about today, again, gives the employer more control, more flexibility. That's where we see that enhanced a lot. And when they can design their benefits, say, hey, we're going to enhance some of this coverage or put a vendor in here to provide our employees with this. So, yeah, beyond those, I would say the ancillary benefits like pet insurance, student loan assistance, financial wellness, those could
Acupuncture.
be,
I want
yeah,
acupuncture in mine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's a lot. So
But it's
yeah,
good to know. I mean, there's things you could leverage, you could pull, and things that can be enticing.
yeah,
Um, you know, I had one years ago that I got money back every time I went to the gym, I think, which worked
yeah,
well for me.
yeah,
You have to do a little work to get it, but it was kind of a game we played with it. We get
yeah,
$30
yeah.
back a month.
So like those have expanded too. Now they have kind of like the HRA. Now there's lifestyle spending accounts. So
Okay,
those are new as well. So employers can be very direct and specific about that, or they can
right.
make it more broad. It can be anything from a gym reimbursement to, hey, here's $15 a month. Use it to, buy cat food or, for you apply it towards your Netflix account, whatever you want to do. So
You just
lifestyle
want to
spending
buy
accounts is
omega
another
3s.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I think I'll finish up with exit type conversation. There's a lot of things that business owners can do when they're thinking towards an exit on this realm, on the healthcare realm. So I guess what's one piece of advice you'd give a business owner to future proof, if possible, their healthcare strategy?
Yeah. You want to make sure that your health plan is clean. So as you're looking at an exit, buyers do benefits due diligence.
Okay.
So if a plan is self-funded and it's underfunded, or if there's a compliance gap, it can create a lot of problems at the table. Um, So definitely making sure things are buttoned up. That's another service that Cambridge does. I know we talked a lot about, taking companies from fully insured to self-funded or the stepping stone with level funded. But we didn't really hit on this, but we work with PEOs too. So we can take companies in PEOs, out of
Oh,
PEOs, go from one PEO to another. So all that, but we do due diligence as well. So if somebody's looking at buying a company or exiting, we can do the due diligence to make sure that their plan from a compliance perspective is buttoned up and that their
right.
claims are going the right way. So that there's not a known, $1 million claim that's going to happen next year that's going to blow up the health plan spend. So we do all that. But the other thing too is um, think for the business owner that's maybe nearing an exit, think about what happens, and this is a little bit selfish, but think about what happens to their own coverage
Yeah.
post-exit. So if they're under age 65 or if they're over age 65, just what their personal healthcare strategy is going to be when the deal closes is worth a conversation too.
Yeah. I have a lot of clients that do retire before 65, and that's a big conversation that
Mhm.
how to bridge that gap,
Yep,
from when they retire if they don't have benefits at work to 65. And we got to make sure we build those expenses into their plans because they're,
100%.
you
Yep.
know, I think there's so many different angles here, but I think the big takeaway is that healthcare isn't just an expense on your P&L. It's a lever that can be when structured correctly, can improve financial outcomes and your employees' well-being, and hopefully retention and finding new employees as well. So if you were listening, I hope you enjoyed it. Drew and I are always here for more questions. Him on the technical side, of course, of this. And where's the best place to find you, Drew?
You can email me, drew@camlife.com.
Okay.
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, Drew Albrecht. Cell phone number 513-706-1753. Yeah, I tell my clients, kind of joke about it. It's 24/7 access.
Okay.
Call, text, email. We want to help. I think that's, you know, we're passionate about what we do and we want to help, which
Yeah.
makes us doing a good job a lot easier.
Excellent. Well, again, Lisa Crosta from Crescent Harbor Private Wealth. I hope you enjoyed our talk with Drew today. Thank you.